This month's Where Did the Road Go is brought to you by 8 amazing people. Greg Ross, Billuminati, Allison Cook, Super Inframan, 36 Dingo, Michael Fritschke, Dr. O in Teaberg, and Doug Malam. Thank you all so very much for helping make this show possible.
Transmission start. Welcome to Where Did the Road Go? Join us as we wander off the path and explore lost history, consciousness, the paranormal, unexplained mysteries, alternative thought, and much more. We are present on the web at wheredidtheroadgo.com. Now here is your host, Soraya.
Welcome to this edition of Where Did the Road Go? And I have, looks like Joshua Cutchin.
Hey, you pronounced my name right.
I'm sorry.
In like 5 episodes. I appreciate it.
He's got it written down phonetically on his board.
Yeah.
I tried to pronounce it wrong and I accidentally got it right. I'm sorry. We got a stranger named Rosian.
Hello.
You know, there was a guy named Rosian. There was a guy named Rosian I used to know, did Project Archivist.
Yeah, I fell off the earth for a little while. I'm still kind of like hanging on the edge of it, just kind of like observing what's going on for the most part, but I'm still around. I'm still here.
Edge of the flat earth, huh?
Yeah, exactly. There's people all around the world that believe in flat earth. So
exactly.
You know,
yeah, you're on the edge of it.
I'm not one of them.
All around the globe.
And all around the globe, yes. And Greg Bishop, who hasn't been on in too long.
Way too long. Hello.
Way too long. I don't know the last time you were on, actually. I don't
know, 10 years ago.
I regularly think of, I should have Greg on for this, and then I don't contact you.
This is fine. I am grateful to be on now, and I'm glad we're catching up.
Yes, and this came together. This was a little hard to schedule, but I think we got it. And Rosian had actually been the one who contacted me and said, hey, can we do a show on the disclosure stuff with Greg and Josh? And I said, yes, that's a fantastic idea. And then weeks later, I finally, followed up on it.
And I didn't think it was going to happen. I just threw it out there because I was like, hey, why not? Let's give this a shot, thinking there's no way in the world this is going to happen. And then, sure enough, there it was.
And Greg, you've been, you have the history part of this. You wrote Project Beta. You've seen this. How many times do you think you've seen this cycle run?
Oh, 3 or 4 times, I guess. And then there's stuff before me in history that people don't think about either or talk about and don't realize, that the boy has been crying wolf for like 60 years or 70 years or something.
Yeah, we read an article from some newspaper talking about a disclosure-like thing from like the 50s. I think Jason Colavito had put it up. What was that?
I just said, mama.
So, obviously the most important thing that's happened recently is the mummy.
Yeah. No, there's more stuff going on now than I remember ever happening, but it seems to be following the same script and the same, if you think about in a Keith Thompson way, the Angels and Aliens guy, it's following the archetypes and the mythology exactly as it should.
Yeah. And it's funny, I just reposted the first show I did on Kundalini, and in the beginning I edited out this whole thing where I was talking about the joke of the Roswell slides.
Oh, yeah.
So, that's kind of the same thing all over again. There was this big production, and it turned out to be nothing like what it was promised.
Yeah, I was in that group by default, the Roswell Slides group that kind of found out. It's like, oh, wait a second, it's a mummified kid.
Yeah.
Well, I remember when. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say for this latest event, I remember seeing a lot of chatter online about how Ryan Graves was going to be involved, and everyone was saying, "Hey, Ryan, Jaime Maussan is involved in this. Maybe you want to sort of step back." And he's like, "No, any attention is good attention." And then, like 2 days after the event, he's like, "Yeah, that was kind of a regrettable thing that I did." It's like, that's something that I find really interesting is that there's with some of these new characters and new players that are coming up, there's an underestimation of some of the institutional knowledge that some of the more level-headed members of the UFO community possess. And, I think that they should be involved in the discussion about like who is credible and not that they should be arbiters of it, but their advice should be sought, I guess.
Well, there was supposed to be, I think there was 4 or 5 more people that were supposed to be at that last hearing, but apparently they received phone calls and were told, do not go to this, do not participate in this. Really? Now, I don't know how true that is, and I don't have the names in front of me, but there was a list of names and stuff like that. But who knows how that is, but there were supposed to be more people there, and they just, that they got what they got, and that was it.
Yeah. If anybody has been in this for more than like 10 or 15 years, they would not need that advice.
Right.
It just, I don't know why people keep going back or thinking that's going to be any different or whatever. And it looks different to begin with. This has looked quite a bit different to begin with. It's very loud, but the way it plays out is the same story. It seems to me. A lot of promises, just like what the U.S. government is right now is like the biggest UFO fan ever going, oh my God, look at this. Oh my God. Have you heard of this? Oh my God. And then it's like, what happened? Well, I don't know. It just kind of stopped.
Yeah.
And I don't think it stopped yet, but the thing is, it's just, we can get into it more, but somebody very badly wants us to pay really close attention, or people to pay close attention to the UFO thing for whatever reason.
And there's a lot of reasons that could be. Part of it could be military spending. That seems to be the most obvious one.
Tons, yeah.
Right. That's my biggest problem with the UFO community in general, is that they spend so much time focusing on exopolitics that they forget about geopolitics. And that's a huge component in this. I don't know what role it plays, but I really do suspect that, as you alluded, that does have some sort of role to play in this whole thing.
Well, they did bring up in the, because I went back and rewatched the entire thing tonight just before the show.
I'm sorry.
To get brushed up. No, it's fine. I don't mind, because I didn't watch the whole thing last time it was on. I kind of got the highlights and stuff. When I was watching it before, there was a lot of, I don't know, kind of like, I want to say Richard Doty kind of, if I hope I'm using the right person, but there was a lot of kind of, well, I could tell you about that, but I can't tell you about it in public, but I could tell you about it in private.
Yeah.
Stuff like that kind of speak going on. And when I see that kind of stuff going on, immediately it just turns me off. It's like it's like Greg said. It's like, this is you're throwing that spin in there. There's that kind of scriptedness to this. And if that's the case, if you're not going to go to one of these hearings, and if you're one of the whistleblowers, and if you're not going to go there and actually talk about this stuff completely, then what's the point of even, then I don't even care what you have to say. If you're going to throw that kind of stuff out there, or, things like that I can't talk about right now, or then why are you here? Why? Because there was also a point in there where the guy said, well, I'm in the government. What do you mean it's top secret? If I can't see it, then who can see it?
Yeah.
Well, there's certain people and okay, well, what people and what ranks? Well, there's this and there's that. It's like, stop being vague about it. Otherwise, you're just wasting our time. And they did bring up in there, to go back to your point earlier, they did specifically bring up that how the military's budget or defense spending, every time they audit them, they're always off. They're always off by like $1 million or however much money they're off every year. And nobody says a word about it. Nobody says anything. It's kind of brushed over. So when I'm watching it, I'm just like, there's really nothing. There's not a whole lot here. All they're saying is, yes, we saw these crafts. A lot of it was the TikTok craft. But ultimately there wasn't a whole lot of substance to this stuff. However, they were like, yes, we did see this stuff, and then one of them was, which I can't remember his name, Grouch. Yeah. Sorry. He was one of the people that was like, yeah, we do have alien crafts. Well, where are they at? Well, I can't talk about that. Well, do we have alien bodies? Well, I believe we have alien bodies, but I haven't seen them. I've been told. Well, who do we talk about this? Well, I can give you a list of names in private, stuff like that. It's like, you're the guy that
same thing has happened to UFO researchers. It happened to me. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it's just the same stuff over and over again. It's like, you're not really, other than a couple of the other pilots that were there, that I did feel they were being honest, but they also really didn't know that much. They didn't know that much more than what they were actually saying. So I don't think that they were in a position to be able to really spew anything out there for the most part. They were just like, there was the guy that shot the TikTok video and stuff. And they were like, yeah, this is what I saw. I did see this, me and several other people saw it. They're like, well, did anybody come after you for this, a superior officer on the mission? He's like, no, I was a superior officer on the mission. Yeah. So,
and there's also this weird belief that because these people are in the military, they're going to know about everything that's flying in our skies, whether it be ours or enemies. You know, so if they don't know what it is, clearly it's alien. And it's like, that's not how this works.
Yeah, that's something that Walter Bosley said when I had this conversation with him, was basically, you know, it was very presumptive of anyone who's seen this to say, well, I know what we have, and this isn't anything like what we have. Yeah. It's like, yeah, there's a real need to know sort of basis going on here. Rojan, I'm just going to head you off at the pass a little bit and correct you so that the YouTube commenters won't have to.
Oh, go right for it.
You keep saying TikTok, and it's Tic Tac.
Tic Tac, yeah, I know. They actually brought that up in the hearings as well about how people keep mispronouncing it. Nice. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm probably still going to do it just out of habit, but anyways.
Well, we acknowledged it, so we'll receive like 10 fewer comments about that. No, I've been trying to be relatively positive on this whole thing. You know, I obviously share a lot of the skepticism that y'all do. I would like to say that I think that there is a certain historical aspect to the hearings that happened at the, end of July, beginning of August, whenever that particular date was, that needs to be acknowledged. And, I will also say that I don't know what the quote unquote, objective truth is behind this thread that's being tugged on. But I will say that I do not fall in the camp that Grush himself is being deliberately deceptive. I've talked to some folks who are like, look in the eyes, you can see it in his eyes. He's MK Ultra'd or something like that. And I'm like, I just don't necessarily think that. I think that if anything,
I heard he was a little spectrum-ish, and that might be why he has that look on his face.
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion of that. I just think that
it's not a mark against him, but that was the reason.
I think that if what we're seeing here is probably a couple of things that range from, he's being utilized to get some sort of message out to some party in some sense, or it's this idea that Red Pill Junkie put forth, which is this idea of model collapse. And he was citing something that a lot of the AI theorists are concerned about with this AI generation, where they're sort of starting to feed on AI generated content to produce more AI generated content. It's sort of becoming self-confirming and that sort of thing. So he sort of drew the comparison between the hearings, or Grush's testimony specifically, and that, in the sense that it's this self-reinforcing Ouroboros of information, where of course his stories sound like the stories that we've been hearing over the past, let's keep the scope small, 5 years or so, because those are the stories that he's repeating. So of course they're referencing themselves. Yeah.
Now, didn't Doty show up in all this somewhere?
I don't know.
He should have.
I thought Ren posted.
He didn't have to, because he's. Yeah, go ahead. What were you about to say?
I got to look it up. I got to see. Ren had said something about him being popped into the whole mix of everything. Let me see if I can.
Was he in the background? Because there was somebody there, somebody special there that was in the background. Like somebody had stopped the video and circled him or something like that. But again, because I'm being vague about it, I don't remember exactly what it was.
I don't think Doty was there. I don't. And I think that at this point, if they do something like this, I don't think they want Doty there.
Yeah, I agree.
He's a wild card that it's not going to work if they're trying to control a message or do something. I mean, they want the UFO people to be, whoever's interested and whoever's watching, and as Josh said, geopolitical. As we were watching this, I said, a couple of people were asking me, like, what is, this is amazing. I said, the audience for this is not you and me. The audience for this is worldwide, and especially people in other countries.
So it was that somebody on Twitter posted a clip of Doty talking about how we have aliens and so on and so forth. It was on TikTok. That's what it was. And it said it has 2 million likes. 2 million likes on TikTok. And Josh, you responded with 2 million people know who Doty is.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, if it's bot farming or of likes or something, but yeah,
don't tell him that. He'll get really happy.
And then Ren responded with 2 million people have no idea who Doty is, which is of course why they're liking the video.
Right. Yeah, because they haven't heard this before, and I mean it's new to people, and people don't know this like cat and mouse thing going on that's been going on forever. And it's not because somebody wants to reveal something or whatever. They want to cover something up. It has nothing to do with UFOs.
Yeah.
And I don't think we'll ever find out what it has to do with. However, the people like Mellon and people like that who are interested in it, the congressmen, all those people and women that were in the hearing, they sincerely are interested in the subject. And I think it's good that they get interested, get more information about it, go through the ringer of the belief ringer or whatever. Hopefully they don't all have binary thinking where it's like there or not, or it does or it doesn't exist, because that's the worst thing you can do with UFOs. But
Yeah.
The fact that it's higher profile is good. And who did you say, Josh? Somebody said that any exposure is good.
Yeah.
I think it is, and the main reason I think it is because for the same reason I think the original New York Times article from 2017, December of 2017, I think that article was not put out there. I think it was the opening shot of what's going on right now.
Yeah.
But I think one of the reasons it was put out there and probably pushed in the beginning, these are all the things that Bigelow and who was a congressman, the one that passed away from Nevada.
I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I can't either. Somebody can look it up. But anyway, they've been pushing for the... Yeah, Harry Reid. Been pushing for this for years. And I think what the fallout of this is that, and I've said this before too, that people with a little bit less believer ideas and a little bit less background, and people like scientists, academics, media people, all this, that never took this seriously. The fallout of all this junk is now that a lot of them are taking it seriously and talking about it in a serious way to varying degrees of success, seriousness, insanity, whatever you want to call it. It's good. That tide floated a lot of boats up. I've never seen so many serious people who have degrees talking about this, and not just the humanities, but also, biologists like Mike Masters. I mean, I don't think he would have been able to raise his head above the fence, 10 years ago, but now he can, and it's wonderful.
It's almost like they're undoing the ridicule factor that they put in place back in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah. Oh, that was it. My phrase was, they're outsourcing UFO research, or crowdsourcing UFO research.
Yeah, but is that necessarily the best thing to do? I mean, we all know the kind of people that are in the UFO field. This is where I get hate mail. But, there's good people, there's bad people, there's people that are on the fence, and then it's like politics. You've got the hard right and the hard left, and then you got the people that are in what was your term for it, Greg? The undisclosed middle or something like that?
Excluded middle, yeah.
The excluded middle, yes. We are kind of the excluded middle for the most part. And I hate to sound like a arrogant snob, but we're really the people that are out there like really taking a subjective look at this kind of stuff in different ways. We're not the gray aliens are here at war with the reptilians for the souls of humanity, but
well, neither are a lot of the academics. I mean,
shut up, Josh.
I think they're taking a little longer view of it, and a little more, it's like, okay, something's going on, that's been going on for a long time, and let's take it seriously for a while. And there'll be craziness, and some of them don't realize how disingenuous a lot of the UFO people are, or the rumors are, but they find out eventually. And I think it is a good thing to have more people looking at it rather than just skeptics and UFO fanatics.
Well, I will say this. I mean to cut you off, Josh. Give me 1 second, though.
Sure.
God, I feel like I just interrupted at the music awards or something. But I will say that since this stuff has happened, that you're now seeing a lot of less. I don't know what term to use, but you're seeing more, I guess, scientifically involved people. I don't know how the term for it. You're seeing a lot of people that are going, okay, well, these are what these people are seeing. And now you're seeing people going out looking for patents and stuff that are out there. And all these new technologies have been found out about. Apparently the Tic Tac one matches very similar to a patent that the U.S. Navy has for some kind of laser, like three-dimensional
plasma, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was plasma. Yeah, exactly.
Talking plasma is what they call it colloquially, I believe.
Yeah,
plasma.
Talking plasma. You actually wrote about this back on the UFO Mystic days, didn't you, Greg?
I think I talk about what's it called? Conjugated laser something, where they cross two laser beams, and where they cross in the air, it creates a plasma, and they can move that around by moving the lasers around.
Yep. Yeah. I just saw your reference to that, and it defies language. The other day I was thumbing through it for something else.
Yeah, and there's other things too. I just looked up recently, is there any way to project things into thin air? And yes, there is. Mm-hmm. There's a way to project things where you gather dust or you can you can trap dust or moisture molecules and droplets in a certain place, and then you can project something on it. And I saw a picture of it online. There's just like a little thing in somebody's hand that's the size of a marble. It's like, well, if they can do it the size of a marble, I bet they can do it bigger than that.
Yeah.
Well, we
also
preparation for Project Bluebeam. They've been working.
I was going to go there. They also have some kind of a flying contraption, which apparently it looks square with a ball inside of it, for lack of a better term. And that is what a lot of these people are describing as seeing. Mm-hmm. And I don't know the specifics of how it works, but the Navy does have a patent on this device. Apparently it's for screwing up missile trajectories, or for fooling planes into thinking their radar, or that there's more planes in the air than there actually is, or something like that. So because
I heard rumors this was drone technology, and that's what a lot of this is about. I can't put all of it down to that, but it's, in a lot of cases, it sounds like that might be part of it. And taken all together, this is the disinformation thing, that people that are looking into this and looking for that chatter can be traced.
Yeah, that's one of the beauties of the information age. And they did say in the hearings, there was a point in there where they were asking him, well, what kind of people are suppressing this? And the guy was like, well, some of it is military and some of it is corporate. And I believe her last name was Luna. She was like, well, let the record show that these companies are putting this stuff out there at the expense of the safety of civilians and military and things like that. But again, the guy was like, well, I can't talk about that in the open right now. I can't. That's not something I can discuss, openly, and I'm not allowed to, or what have you, but he's strongly alluding, he was saying things that people weren't saying, there's corporations that are behind all this.
Yes.
So, and if you want to take that into the realm of the woo-woo, then you step into, which all of you guys are going to be familiar with what I'm saying, and probably listeners as well, that if you're a company like Boeing or another private company, you could, if you have a crashed alien craft, they would be the people to get it, because they're not subject to freedom of information checks or anything like that. That's private business. So you could theoretically take something like this and funnel it to one of those companies and be like, here, take this, take it apart, figure out what it is, or see if you can make something out of this or do something with this in some way, shape, or form.
Well, yeah, that's the Phil Corso. He started that, I think, or at least started it in a way that we're all familiar with now.
What was interesting is when AOC came out on this whole thing, and she made a video that basically started with people don't trust the government and they shouldn't, and then went on to government spending for defense stuff and relating to UFOs, and she kind of came in neutral on the idea of UFOs. But pointed out that 50% of the defense spending goes to private contractors who are not accountable for that money.
Exactly. Yeah. And if that's the case, then that opens up a whole different Pandora's box out there, because it's always the thing. Again, people are going to notice say it, but whatever technology we know about, there's 10 years more of advanced technology ahead of us that we don't know about.
Easily.
So the technology we got now we know about now isn't that bad. It's pretty cool, and now you take it a step further. Now we've got artificial intelligence involved in this stuff. So that the potential for this technology to grow in leaps and bounds faster than the average citizen or information finder, this might actually give Nick Redfern a run for his money with his stuff that he's always investigating or what have you.
Yeah.
But it's just, the idea that some of these crafts, and in my opinion, probably a good majority, not all, I will say that not all of them, I think are probably some kind of military experiments or tests or things like that. And what better people to test them on than commercial pilots and military pilots to see how they affect them,
Yeah, the command structure and the people running these companies, I think they know if this is going on.
As long as they're not hurting anybody, they can get away with
exactly.
it too.
I mean, the commander knows what's going on. So if something gets out of control, the commander or the command structure can do something about it, or call it off or whatever. But past that, they kind of want to know how people will react. I mean, it's the same thing that happened when they broke into those submarines, I think nuclear submarines in port in the 1990s or 80s, I think. Mm. And I think one segment of the Navy or some part of the defense structure decided to see if they could break into a nuclear submarine and steal things, and they were able to do it. And they didn't tell the other people they were doing it. Which is slightly dangerous, but it was done. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't know if I have documentation on it. This was told to me by the guy that was saying that was trying to turn me into a UFO fanatic that would spew out disinfo that he would feed me.
If I might provide some anecdotes and my own prediction for the future, which will probably age like soured milk, but but if that's okay, I'd
Sure.
like to. So at the beginning of the month, I was attending DragonCon down here in Atlanta, and I was on several panels, one of which was a UFO panel. And I was on that panel with a seasoned paranormal investigator. I don't know why I wouldn't be able to share his name, but we'll just leave it out for the time being. But he said that he had a friend of his who was a commercial airline pilot, and he would always ask him over the years, what do you see in the sky? And for years, he would say nothing. And then he was in the past 6 months, he's come to this investigator and been like, I'm seeing stuff all the time. We're hearing about stuff all the time. So I don't know what that represents in terms of an uptick. I don't know if we're seeing, you've got to place all this within the context of this Cold War that we're in. But you also, if you want to take a look at this as being genuinely anomalous, you've also got to place that in the context of sightings of UFOs around times of conflict and times of international strife, like the World War II and the Foo Fighters, or the Glasnost wave, as Valet talked about. But I think really the most interesting thing that I walked away from this panel with was I posed a question to the audience, and we're talking about maybe 150 people or so, and I asked them. I said, and of course, it's a very biased audience, very biased sample in this regard, but I said, okay, of those of you who are gathered here, how many of you think that UFOs are genuinely anomalous in some instances? And about 7/8 of the room raised their hands. And then I said, how many of you think that we will get some sort of truth from the government at the end of the road on this? And about a third of that cohort raised their hands. And then this is what really floored me, and I shared this with Greg the other weekend. I closed out this little round of questions by saying, how many of you think that of these truly anomalous UFOs, how many are extraterrestrial in origin? And about 3 or 4 people out of that entire room raised their hands. And I don't really know what to. I'm sort of biased in that regard. I was expecting quite the opposite, but I don't know what everyone else is thinking. But it does sort of underscore the fact that I think a lot of people are getting on board with exactly how strange this phenomenon is. And, as I said at that moment, I said, I'm, very happy that people see this, because if your disclosure doesn't contain something that shakes the foundations of reality, if it doesn't get really weird, metaphysically speaking, it's going to be a partial disclosure at best. So my sort of prediction for where this ends up, a lot of discussion is centered around this amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act, which, as I understand it, as at the time of this recording, is in jeopardy with the possibility of a government shutdown. But there's language in there specifically relating to the release of documents surrounding, non-human intelligences, either bodies or craft, et cetera. And the UFO community is quite excited about this. But the thing they keep on saying is we're really excited because it's based on the same language that was crafted for the Kennedy files. And as Richard Dolan himself pointed out, yes, we have 99% of the Kennedy files, but we have the first question is A, what's in that 1%, which is probably the most important stuff. And B, of that 99% that's been released, it's been redacted so much that it looks like Swiss cheese. So what do we walk away with from the Kennedy assassination towards almost here in 2024? What's the sense? And the sense is that something strange went on. We're not getting the whole story, but there's definitely something odd about it. And that's where I think we'll probably end up at the end of this disclosure flap, is a general sense among the public that yes, there is something strange going on, but we can't really put our finger on exactly what's going on. That's my ill-advised prediction for what we'll see at the end of all this.
Well, you also have the fact that interdimensional has replaced extraterrestrial to a lot of people.
I noticed that. They brought that up a couple of times during the hearing.
But, it's like you just switched out one unknown for another unknown.
Well, and I don't think people really realize how odd that definition could get, because now you might as well be talking about, Tir Nanog and, the other world and even the afterlife, like these ideas that are just ancient and quite frankly superstitious, which, believe me, I'm completely on board with. But that's the sort of language that you're actually seeing introduced when people start talking about dimensions. Like, they've been conditioned by superhero films to think of things in terms of the multiverse. And I don't necessarily think that's what's being discussed. So it's.
But
it was
but
an
at
interesting
least
thing to see that to get its time on the floor. Yeah.
At least with extraterrestrial, we can be fairly confident that there is life somewhere else in the universe.
Agreed.
Whereas interdimensional scientifically doesn't mean anything at this point.
Also agreed. I mean, it's.
Because we don't even know if other dimensions. We haven't been to other dimensions.
Yeah.
We haven't opened up a door to them. So
we don't fully know what it means.
Yeah, it's kind of gobbledygook. It's like a catchphrase. It's like Josh said, the multiverse.
I haven't been paying as much attention as I should, because whenever I hear quantum, my eyes glaze over and I kind of I dissociate, right? But I am under the impression that sort of string theory in general has fallen out of favor amongst a lot of physicists in recent years. That may or may not be the case, but that's what I believe I've been hearing.
No, that is true.
Well,
it was replaced by quantum.
I guess a lot of stuff has changed. A lot of ideas have changed, but the idea that there are what appear to us as other dimensions, I think, has gained traction in the scientific community. And I can't say for sure, but I think there's even been some quasi-experimental evidence for that, where things are affected or appear in a way that makes sense if you think of it as a multidimensional universe or reality.
Right.
But not something nothing that's changed the paradigm yet.
No. Plus, you also have stuff where we think one of the I forget what particles they are. They're particles. I know they discovered them moving through Antarctica from outer space, if I'm remembering right, and they seem to be moving backwards in time.
Yeah, time as we know it. That's the other thing that's falling apart is the concept of time, and the idea of retrocausality really interests me, and it has for the past few years since I first heard about it. I know you guys talk about it. And if that's the case, then as I was talking about information theory to another researcher, and I said, well, I'm fascinated with the idea that everything that exists at its base is pure information, and only the fact that we're looking at it, that human consciousness interacts with it, creates the physicality out of that information. Whereas before that, it's just information, not anything.
Yeah.
But once we start interacting with it, it becomes atoms and electrons and muons and mesons and all that other stuff. And he said, well, don't you see that if we live in a physical universe, this UFO stuff is just crazy. It's really hard to believe. But if we live in an informational universe, it's normal.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a wonderful, that's like a touchstone phrase for me. The other one, and I don't, it's not really related, but it's related to the disclosure thing. And this was, I still talk to Bill Moore occasionally. And I was saying something to Moore about something that I had talked about in Project Beta. I can't remember what it was. But he said, and I was saying, why do people keep coming at me with like, where did you get this from? It's like, I got it from more than one source. I put it in the book because it made sense, and and it wasn't just. And if it was one source, I said something.
Yeah.
And he said, you shouldn't be upset because I don't know. He said, you shouldn't be upset because they always think it's about them. And what he meant was UFO researchers, UFO fans, people interested in this. The minute the government says something about UFOs, they think it's about UFOs in the way that they think about it.
Right.
And I agree with Bill. I'm almost certain that it's not. I think the UFO thing is peripheral to what's going on now. It's just that making a big stink about it in public is very useful for some reason. I also think, and I've said this before too, that as soon as whatever is going on is finished, successful, unsuccessful, whatever, whenever the UFO issue has outlived its usefulness, it'll just stop.
Yeah.
It'll go away and come back again later when it's needed again.
Yeah, I'm almost certain of this because that's what's happened in the past.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of hope I'm wrong, but the other thing I've said a bunch of times, I hate to say it, disclosure is like asking the parent that always lies to you to tell you the truth just this one time. And if it isn't what you already think, then you're lying. Then the person's lying.
Right. Well, and plus, they're bringing people like Bob Lazar back. And it's like, okay, we're going to do this again. And there are so many people out there who didn't know the Bob Lazar story before he came back again. And it fits with what's going on now. It fits with things Grush is saying. And so people are like, oh, no, this Lazar guy's on the level.
Yeah, well, that's the other problem with UFO and a lot of people is if you approach the paranormal with binary thinking, you're screwed already.
Yeah.
Because it's not true or not. It's not there or not. It's not it's not aliens or not. It's all those things and none of them, and you have to keep your mind open the whole time, or you'll just be lost. And when people like Uri Geller, I'll give that as an example. It's like Uri Geller's a fraud. Other people, Uri Geller's absolutely real. He's both.
Yes, exactly.
I'm pretty sure he's both, with the heavy emphasis on charlatan.
Yes,
but not always.
No, and he's done quite a few lab tests that have been, remarkable on what he's come up with.
I cite some of those to people, and they, the skeptics like, all the scientists must have been fooled, or they're in league with them. It's like, well, I can't win with you, so let's just stop.
At the same time, if you're doing a public performance and you can fake something or hope that it really happens, if you're smart, you're going to fake it.
Yeah. In furtherance of being on TV more, in furtherance of continuing your career, and in furtherance of making people interested in something that is real. And that's across so many disciplines. I mean, the contactees did that.
Yeah.
I think people would be amazed at how many large scale concerts that you see are pre-recorded.
Oh, sure.
I mean, it was a scandal with Milli Vanilli, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it happens all the time now.
Yes. It does.
God. Yeah. I'm very into electronic music and stuff like that. And a lot of the people that go up and DJ and stuff are like, yeah, some of our shows are definitely pre-recorded depending on the size of the venue and the event and how many people are coming through there. And they're like, yeah, it happens all the time.
I mean,
so when you see the twisting knobs and stuff, it's like, he might not be doing anything.
Right. Well, and I get it. It's a logistical thing too, because as you alluded to, the size of the venue kind of makes it impossible sometimes to actually coordinate sound across the stage because you're getting reverb and stuff. But by the skeptics' logic, those musicians can't actually play their instruments, and that's not what's happening.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes. I mean.
Well, yeah, sometimes, but
you
take my meaning. You take my meaning.
You got some old rock and metal bands who literally cannot perform at a good level anymore, and they just lip sync to their stuff.
But you take my
meaning. Yes. No, your meaning is solid.
Yeah.
It's same effect. The music is there. The music has an effect. The music is music that they used to play, and so the effect is the same, no matter what the delivery system. But it comes from a place that's legitimate.
Yes,
right,
yeah. And I mean, it's not unlike saying, oh, you learned that violence in movies is fake, then all violence must be fake.
Right.
What, wrestling's not real? What are you talking about?
No, wrestling's the only real thing on television.
That's right. You know what? You're right.
It's the only
That's the most profound statement I've heard in a while.
Yeah, it's the only thing that just comes out and tells you exactly what it is and does exactly what it does.
And this all just puts me in the mindset of the fact that very few books on the paranormal, I think, have aged as well as Patrick Harpur's Demonic Reality is a personal favorite, but I would say that George Hansen's The Trickster and the Paranormal has aged even better. Because it's a handbook. And it just, I think that even if there's nothing supernatural at all, it still works. His line of thinking still works.
The psychology still works.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and the fact that I know what this made me think of the first time I realized this non-binary thing, which was so late to me, but about 6 or 7 years ago, I heard George Knapp interviewing Jim McLennan, who did the Entity Letters book about, I can't remember the name of that Midwestern group that did paranormal experiments, ESP, Presentiment, and all that. Moving objects inside closed things, or
I don't remember.
It's called the Entity Letters. It's by a guy named Jim McLennan. But anyway, what he said was when he watched what was going on there at this place, he realized that a lot of it was fake, but he also realized that a lot of it couldn't be faked and wasn't.
Yeah.
In this years-long paranormal study taking place in this one house amongst about a group of experimenters or researchers. I think Hansen was actually involved with it for a little while too. Shannon Taggart, I think, told me this. But go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say it almost becomes sort of a fake it till you make it sort of thing, whereby empowering the imagination through miraculous results, the actual miraculous steps in to bridge that gap.
Yeah, it's a Peter Pan thing if you believe then the magic works.
Well, and you have sort of the opposite thing happening with like a lot of poltergeist cases where they start out as legitimate phenomena because whoever the source is stressed out, is putting that energy out there. And then as they start getting attention, like the Enfield poltergeist being one of the best examples, once they start getting attention, the activity dies down because they're not as stressed. And then they start faking stuff because they don't want these people going away.
Yeah. Arguably, the contactees, fulfilled a similar narrative,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's why I mentioned it earlier. It's exactly the same thing. You've put a different spin on it, but I totally agree.
Can I bring up something real quick that might be a little left field, but I want to put it out there before I forget about this?
Oh, God, no.
Absolutely.
The one thing that I found very humorous and rather surprising about all of these hearings and everything, there was the hearings, and then there was the big afterwave of everywhere on TikTok and social media and everywhere. UFOs are real. The government has this big disclosure thing, blah, 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 which really it wasn't. But the overwhelming thing that I thought that was hysterical was that nobody cared. Everybody was like, that's great. Am I going to be able to, are they going to pay my car payment? Are they going to put food on my table? Yeah. Nobody cared. Nobody. It was like, great. Aliens are real. These are average people. And they were like, yeah, they watch, like, people not like us at payroll to close attention, but the average person watching this, they're like, okay, well, the government just said aliens are real. That's nice. Now, how are you going to fix this problem? Are you going to fix that problem? Are you going to keep the government? Nobody cared. And I don't know if that's the new generation or whatever, but at this point, people were just like, yeah, whatever. That's okay. Aliens are real. Great. That's nice. They're flying around the sky. We don't care.
When you're having trouble putting food on your table, when you're stressed out about paying the rent or medical bills, aliens are not going to be, unless it's something you're really into, it's not going to be something that's a big deal to you. You're like, yeah, whatever. That doesn't help me right now.
I didn't even see any kickback from the church or anything, because usually the hard right religious people are like, no, these are demons, these aren't aliens. And you didn't even hear anything from those people, nothing.
Well, and that add on to the pile of that, the fact that faith in all of our institutions has been completely broken. I mean, what I'm fond of saying is, and I even said this at Dragon Con, I said, imagine the person that you didn't vote for in the last presidential election. Now imagine they're president and they're telling you that aliens are real. Do you believe them? Like, I don't care where you fall on the political spectrum. Like, the answer is no,
But here's the other thing. At no point has there been an official government announcement that aliens are real.
No.
Well, if there were, would anybody believe it? Even if they brought, like if it was like the Dave Chappelle show where they brought the alien out on stage and he's like, this is Bebop, we're leaving the planet, everybody's going to die, peace, we're out of here, No one's going to believe no matter what is said anyways, no matter what they put out there, unless,
believe if they believe already.
Yes.
Yeah, everybody's already carved in stone. Even at this point, I think if a spacecraft were to land on the White House lawn, people would be like, nah, this is the Democrats trying to do this, or this is the Republicans trying to do this.
Exactly. And so what in that scenario would constitute something that would push people over the edge into believing? It has to be the personal experience, I think.
Yes.
And that's,
if it affects your daily life, then it makes a difference.
Right.
So I had seen a post on, I think someone put it up in Reddit, and it was, I think, a Twitter post initially that said government officials announced that alien technology is here. It is 100 to 1,000 years ahead of us. And I went, okay, when was this announcement made? And when I Googled it and tracked back that statement, it just went back to the guys who witnessed the TikTok, who are retired Navy people, saying, oh, to me, this looks like technology that's 100 or even 1,000 years ahead of us. And that got twisted into this headline of government officials announce.
Yep.
And it's like, that's not what? And people just eat it up because they don't do that. They don't check where that came from. They see it and they assume it's true because it's what they want to hear.
A lot of it's clickbait too, just to get, screaming headlines to get people to pay attention, which have little or no relationship to what's in the actual text of the article.
Yes.
If you want to go a step further, is this Russian or Chinese or whatever social engineering hackers just putting more stuff out there to muddy the waters? Now, I'm not saying that's what's happening, but could that be what's happening? God, I feel like Giorgio, could it be aliens? It's possible, but because that is a thing now. You continuously have these other countries now that technology is a thing, social media is a thing, social media engineering, all of these things. This is all stuff now. Are these just people that are just putting more muck in the water to muddy things up and just keep people endlessly distracted?
I think it was a quote in Project Beta. The UFO community is perfectly capable of disinforming itself.
It's true.
So now,
overheard at a UFO convention, it said, which I did overhear it at a UFO convention. I thought it was a great statement.
Now, Greg, tell people who don't know, like when you were being fed information, how did that come about? How did it make you feel when you were kind of in this whole thing?
Do you know about this story?
I believe you've talked about it before.
Okay. Just dropped my headphones. In the mid-90s, when I was doing Excluded Middle magazine, I got introduced to this guy who said he was from Naval Intelligence. And to prove it, he would tell us, my friend Richard Saraday and I, Richard introduced me, the late Richard Saraday. He said, to prove this, he would tell us things that were going to happen in the news, within a few days or weeks. And he did it. Like there was a stealth fighter that was captured in Sarajevo during that conflict. He told us about it like 3 weeks before it was announced in the news. So you step in and tell somebody, I know official stuff. I know information that you don't know. And to prove it, here's something to prove it. Here's a little, here's my bona fide card.
Yeah.
And he did that more than once. He told Richard and I didn't do it. Richard did, to go down to the Burbank airport where Lockheed Skunk Works used to be at the time, where they had part of their headquarters there, and to stand up at the runway at a certain time and the stealth fighter would fly over. And this was like right around when it was announced, and nobody knew where it was, who made it or anything. They just knew that possibly it existed. And he went over there and it flew right over when he said it would. So apparently the guy has some connection to some sort of official, he knows things that you're not supposed to know, but he's telling us. So that's the first step. Tell you something that you do not know and then have it confirmed.
Yeah, earn your confidence.
And then they start telling you things that you have no way of proving. Like he would show me pictures of, look at this picture taken at Area 51. And it was like these weird flying saucer things, sort of looking occasionally like the stuff Lazar was talking about, that sport model thing and all that. And I looked at them and I don't remember if I said this, but I thought it. I was like, Jesus, that really looks like Photoshop. Some of them didn't, but most of them did. So I figured all of them were. But he started showing me these pictures of UFOs at Area 51, and here's a special thing I wanted to show you what's going on. And he gave me like big long papers he wrote about what was going on and how he saw it, and how people like me and my friends or people I knew were being let in on it. And then he started asking if I don't know if he asked, but he gave me stuff with the idea that I would publish it in the zine in Excluded Middle. So at one point I did publish something that he showed me or gave to me under the table, but I also expressed skepticism about it, just because I didn't want to hang my ass out there and say, look at this. I was just like, this is interesting. This has been shown to me. It could be anything, but take it under advisement. And when that was published, the guy wrote to me and he was furious. He said, you do not change things we give you. You do not do this. Otherwise, we're not going to give it to you anymore.
We talked about that on my show once when I had you on. But that's a great way to get this information out there, because like, here's a whole bunch of stuff that's true. And then we'll give you a whole bunch of other stuff. And then it'll be like, well, the other stuff you gave us is true. That checks out. So this must be true as well.
Yeah. Plus, we think that you're special and you're the person we need to tell. And, there's a big ego thing going on, too.
So if they give you that information and you published it and you changed the wording of it and he flipped out, is that because they want to see, they're trying to track where the information is going by how it gets changed or what have you?
That might be part of it. Also, I didn't change it. I just said, here it is, but you don't have to take it to 100% seriously.
Yeah.
Okay.
It may or may not be true, but he wanted me to present it as 100% true.
You changed you changed some of the punctuation on the Serpo stuff, right? That definitely seems like that sort of a thing, because I was reminded of it when...
No, that was Victor Martinez.
Oh, it was Victor Martinez. Okay.
No, I didn't get any Serpo stuff. That was Martinez.
But that was the thing that happened, where punctuation was fixed and was like, do
and
not
spelling
fix it.
too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he fixed the punctuation and the spelling. He was told not to do it, and he kept doing it. So they took him off and put that that Australian guy, Bill Ryan. They started giving him the stuff because Martinez kept changing everything. And I think the stuff was put out there, and I've said this before. I think it was put out there because it had coded messages in it, and they wanted to see who could figure it out.
Well, and I was put in the mindset of that too. I recently saw Elon Musk was looking for leaks at Twitter after his purchase, and he sent out a company-wide email, but each email was tailored to one individual in terms of a punctuation or an extra space or something in the code. Anyway, it was done such that it looked like it was a form letter, but it was actually several thousand individual emails, and so when it was leaked, they knew exactly who it came from.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing that people wouldn't think of that, but it's it's very easy to figure out why somebody would release that kind of stuff because of ego.
Yeah.
And if you throw something out there and you know somebody's ego is invested in it, I just call them repeater stations. Like, some people are really good repeater stations. They'll just spit out whatever you say to them because they think they're the chosen ones, and they're the ones that have been chosen to reveal this to the world. And this has happened over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I don't know if that's what was going on with me, but I can certainly see all the hallmarks of it, especially in retrospect. I may be horribly paranoid for about a year. I thought the guy told me people could listen to my phone conversations, which you could.
Yeah.
Or they could see what was on my computer screen outside the house. Like, how can they do that? He goes, there's a way to read it was a CRT screen, but a way to read the magnetic fluctuations in what your TV screen's putting out. They can read what's on your computer screen. This is like before real internet.
Yeah, and I mean, that sounds like something that might actually work.
It probably did, and it probably was based on something that actually did. But I swear I saw people taking pictures of my place when they drove by. Yeah. And my mail was opened, and that wasn't an illusion. It was definitely opened and destroyed and messed up and mangled. And it was only from certain people.
Didn't you also have someone walking in the apartment above you exactly where you were in your apartment?
I don't know what happened that night, but yeah, my landlord or somebody above me, and I worked a night shift. And I used to do the magazine. I do the layout and all that stuff. Because I worked a night shift 3 days a week. So 4 days a week, I could do whatever I wanted, which just gave me incredible freedom to do the magazine and do research and write, and learn how to paraglide and all this other stuff. But I'm up at 4 a.m, like working on something, and I get up and go to the bathroom, and I hear the guy, and it's like a family upstairs, so why would anybody be up? And I walk into the bathroom, and I hear footsteps on the floor above me going into the bathroom. It's like, oh, he's going to the bathroom at the same time. And I went and sat down and did something, and then I forgot something in the front room, so I walked out to the living room, and the footsteps follow from my room and are right over my head as I go out to the front and back. I was like, well, that's coincidence, I guess. And then I started testing it, and it kept going on. And I got more and more and more. I mean, this went on for like 10 or 15 minutes. Whoever it was just matching my foot, or I thought it was. Maybe the illusion was placed in my mind somehow, or who knows.
Or maybe it was a poltergeist.
Or maybe it was a poltergeist. I don't know. I went, and the cool thing was, I don't know. I went in my room, and I remembered what he said about reading stuff off my screen. And in big font on my computer, in like Microsoft Word, I typed, "I know what you're doing, cut it out." And it stopped.
I mean,
which freaked me out too, but also made me relieved at the same time. It was a really weird feeling.
This puts me in the mindset, completely unrelated at first glance, but that's exactly what you hear in a lot of these Bigfoot stories when people are paced out of the woods. It matches their footfalls and stops when they stop. So I kind of wonder if
it might have been co-created.
Yeah, exactly. If it wasn't, an agent of some sort, if it was actually just an aspect of yourself.
I had other things going on, like the noises in the bookcase where the kachinas were that sounded like insects crawling around, or a mouse or something making noise. And when I took the kachinas out, it stopped. And I could turn my head and look at it, and it would stop, because I'd hear it behind me or to the side. I'd turn my head and look, and it would stop. And then I turned my head back, and it would go again.
And this was in your current home?
No. This is when I lived up the street in another.
Oh, okay.
Like a bigger apartment up the street.
Ritzman used to talk about stuff like that happening to him all the time as well.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah, and it was when I was like heavily doing my magazine and heavily involved in this stuff, and to the point, I mean, I still am, but I was just finding it out, and it was a huge rush, and I was paranoid at the same time. Just all this emotion and stuff going on in me at the same time, and that's when these weird things would happen. I mean, I there were probably other things too, but I've forgotten them. But those are the ones that really stand out in my mind: the Kachina cabinet noises and the footsteps above me.
I know I would probably be freaked out about it for a little bit, and then I would try to start to screw with it. I know how my brain works, where I would be like, okay, if this is happening, let's see if we can tweak it and see it's like a video game when you're trying to find the boundaries of the ways that you can mess with a video game or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. I know that would be what I would do. I would get real freaked out for a little bit, and then I would probably accept, okay, this is happening, so I might as well try to see what I can do with this. But that's just the way my weird brain works.
Well, I would hope and think mine would too, but I was just so consumed with paranoia about it that after a while I just wanted all the negative stuff and all the like suspicions and thinking I was going to be poisoned and all this other stuff. I wanted it to stop. So at some point I made a decision to stop thinking that way because I couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I just act of, I will not have this invade my brain anymore because I can't live like this. Yeah. And the funny thing is, a lot of the stuff stopped when I made that decision. It was like I used my own brain to shut off the paranoia-inducing stuff, a lot of which other people could see, like the opened mail and stuff like that.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we will be right back.
Quick mid-show break here. So first of all, Alba Twitch is coming up, and if it hasn't already passed when you're listening to this, it will be on the 14th of October down in Columbia, Pennsylvania. I will be there. I will have copies of the documentary. For more info, take a look at the video I put up, the actual video where I talk about all this stuff and all the upcoming stuff, including that and the Strange Realities Conference, as well as updates on the book I'm working on and such. So yeah, go check that out. But come find me at Alba Twitch if you're going to be there. I probably won't be there till later in the day since I can't actually get the rental car till 9 a.m. Yeah, so it's going to be a good 4 to 5 hour drive. So yeah, close to the end, I will be there. Okay, so contact info, everything's at wheredidtheroadgo.com. If you want to send us a story or stories for the Listener Stories Show, it's stories at wheredidtheroadgo.com. And if you just want to talk to me about something, you can use that. You can also write me at contact@wheredidtheroadgo.com as well. All right, recommendation for this week. I had almost forgotten about this podcast. It's only 3 episodes. So it's called Time Bombs. And it says, created, written, recorded, produced, and released in just 1 week, Time Bombs is a new audio drama podcast about the hilarious world of bomb disposal. From the team behind the Webby Award-nominated sci-fi audio drama Wolf 359, ride along with EOD technician Simon Teller on the busiest night of the year waiting for him and his team, the busiest night of the year for him and his team, when business is quite literally booming. It is a fun podcast. Like I said, unfortunately, it is only 3 episodes, so it's not even an hour total, but it is well worth checking out. And if you're familiar with Wolf 359, you will recognize at least one of the voices. So it's been a while since I listened to it, but I just remember really loving it. But like I said, it was just kind of a limited one-time thing. But that's my recommendation this week, the Time Bombs podcast. And that's all for this mid-show break.
Looking for something to do after Halloween is over? Are you into the strange, bizarre, and unusual? On November 3rd, 4th, and 5th, the Strange Realities Conference is coming back to Nashville, Tennessee, and streaming online. Come join us for 3 days exploring mysteries, supernatural, the occult, weird history, and more, featuring lectures, presentations, and workshops by Tim Banal, Zach Hunt, Cheslin Vance, Bryn Collier, Tobias Whalen, Brent Rains, Joshua Cutchin, Kiki Dombrowski, Recluse, Nathan Isaac, Christopher Ernst, Aaron Goulias, David Metcalf, Timothy Renner, Mallory Sawinski, Soraya special guest Steve Berg as your master of ceremonies. Make sure to join us for the fun and informative weekend online and at SIR Nashville November 3rd and 4th and online only November 5th. Tickets are available at strangerealitiesconference.com.
You're listening to Where Did the Road Go? And I have Joshua Cutchin, Greg Bishop, and Rojan, is it?
Yep, that's it. You got it. You
All right.
Row.
Yeah. I feel like you've been on this show before long ago. Live.
It's been a while.
Live in studio.
I was going to come out again, but because of everything that's going on in Michigan right now with the UAW and stuff, my wife works for one of the factories that's on strike right now, and it kind of put the kibosh on me coming out there. So I'm still going to come back out again.
Good. So one of the things that I wanted to point out here is that we had, I think this newest iteration started with the New York Times article and then the To the Stars thing. And, everyone, when the To the Stars thing started, they're like, they're going to solve the UFO thing. We're going to find out everything. They had that carrot on the stick mentality. It just kept going. We got nothing, but what we did get is a lot of stuff that was proven fake being put out as real. And it seems like this is one of the things that has continued. You get stuff like these people put something out that is not genuine, that is known to be not genuine. And then when they're called on it, they're like, oh, I'm sorry, that was the wrong video. But a lot of that stuff is real. And I'm not sure what the mentality is there.
Probably the one we were talking about earlier about the a lot of it's fake and some of it's real, and you kind of have to figure it out. And people get that carny mentality about it, where I'll please fool me again because it's just so fun. I had my friend Skylar, the one that passed away a couple of years ago. There was a kerfuffle about Travis Walton a few years ago that he had that some more evidence had come up apparently, and that he had faked it and all that. I didn't think it stood up the test. I don't know whether Travis Walton faked things or not. I'm pretty sure in his mind he didn't. Yeah. I'm pretty sure the original thing that happened was not fake. I'm not convinced it was aliens, but I think he had a very real experience. Yes, exactly. But she said something which I thought was hilarious online. She said, "I don't care if it was true or not. I was entertained."
And that's what this is to a lot of people. It's entertainment.
Well, it's fun to talk about. Soraya, there also might be sort of a media strategy at play there too, because people read releases, they don't read retractions.
True. Yeah. True.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I remember when the Blink 182 guy was on Joe Rogan, and he's like pulling up videos to show Joe, and they're fake videos. And Joe's like, that's fake. That looks obviously fake. He goes, no, all the stuff on YouTube is real. And Joe's like, all the stuff on YouTube. Okay.
Wow. That's willful ignorance.
Yes. Because I don't think he was part of some like devious plan. I think he was just a pawn in the whole thing.
Yeah, maybe. The thing, and I think I've talked about this with Josh and a few other people, the subject itself will take the most respectable person, and the higher they are, the further they fall when they buy completely into the UFO thing. Like they'll hang their hat on one big thing, and then everybody else who is not this learned scientist person goes, that's fake,
right?
And they're horribly embarrassed by it if they ever admit it. But even if they don't admit it, which they don't usually, people just move on. But that happens over and over and over again.
This is another Hansenism, though. I mean, he talks about communitas and this idea of social leveling across these phenomena, where it will make you look silly, and it will, but it not only does it bring the highly positioned low, it also elevates those of low position higher. So it all sort of levels out.
Mm-hmm. That's funny. It's almost like that Whitley Strieber thing that the visitors are trying to reveal themselves in the most democratic way possible by, starting from the bottom up. It's funny. That just reminded me of that leveling thing, because it's exactly what the visitor thing is, or that's his view of it. And I tend to believe it, coming from Whitley, who I respect as a experiencer and a great artist, actually communicating what's happened to him as art.
So, and I agree with that, but I'm always puzzled when Whitley will align himself with people, like after the Mexico slide thing happened, the Roswell slide thing.
Mm-hmm.
He did a show, and I mean the whole thing was like, maybe there's more to this. We gotta, we're gonna have him on, and we're gonna talk about how this might still be real. And it's like, well, we know it's not real. Like, is this just bringing clicks? Like.
Yeah.
If it was just some doofus, I wouldn't care. But for some reason, if he's interested in it, even if he's wrong, to me, it's just part of the tapestry of who he is and what he's interested in. And since he's an artist and has made some incredibly insane claims from the very beginning to most people, I think that's why he's let off the hook for a lot of it amongst the public. I mean, a lot of people have written off and all that, but I will go back to the statement I have about Whitley. It's like, why do you believe him? And I say, why do I believe the Beatles? Why do I believe Vincent van Gogh? Why do I believe, Stanley Kubrick or whatever? It's because there's truths there that are not literal truths, but they are universal and soul truths, or something that we can all hook into. And if you get granular about what's true and what's not, you're missing the point. It's like looking at, 2 square inches of a impressionist pointillist painting. It looks like a bunch of dots. It makes no sense. But if you look at the whole, 8 by 10 foot, painting, then it starts to make more sense and communicate something that those few dots don't. And that's kind of how I think about Whitley and a few other people too.
Yeah.
So you're basically referring to ufology as chaos magic.
Yeah, I guess in a lot of ways. I mean, it is bringing up things. It is what you make it, and it also throws you a loop every once in a while, giving you something that you didn't know that you asked for.
So, Rojan, you said you had a few questions for Greg.
Well, we've kind of moved on, but I can backtrack a little bit.
We can backtrack. It's fine.
All right. You had said that all this stuff.
That's you backing up.
We need the from Wayne's World.
Yeah.
But you had said when all this stuff was going on that you just wanted it to stop because it was driving you crazy and so forth. If that were to start happening again now that you're older and things in your life are different, and obviously your viewpoints are different now than when you first started this stuff, how would you embrace this kind of thing happening now? Would you, do like I said, where you poke at it and try to play with it a little bit, or would you still be like, leave me alone?
I might. I was offered the chance to open myself up to alien whatever contact or whatever. And I said no. And this was while my wife was still alive. And they said, why? And I said, because I like my life right now. I don't want it changed. But at this point, I might play with it a little bit and see what's going on. The thing is, if you open the door too wide, you'll never close it.
Correct.
Or it'll be really, really difficult.
Now,
I don't know if I exactly want to be in that position, but there's various degrees of what's going on. If it was a paranoid thing, I can control my thoughts about that. But if it's something where stuff starts flying off my shelves or I have a run of bad luck or whatever, no, I don't like that.
Yeah, right. But now, are you saying you did have an offer for more stuff to happen? Was that a hypothetical?
No. Some a UFO person, like a contact person, said, "Do you want to meet, you aliens?" And I said, "No, I don't. I really don't."
I thought you said that was relatively recently, Greg. I didn't know it was back then.
No. This was it was like 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I guess relatively recently. This is separate from the paranoia thing. Although I did go ahead.
Did you think they actually could get you in touch with alien intelligences?
Probably.
Can you elaborate?
I would have to do certain practices and protocols,
which would be a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
It's too much like work.
Yeah, it's work. The thing is, I had the other not really an offer, but basically the same thing from Jeff Ritzman. I had him on my show a couple of times, I think, and he said, because I think I had him on 2 shows, and he wouldn't say anything. It's like, no, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about it on the air. And finally, I was like, Jeff, just talk about it. I mean, it's not going to be your fault if something happens. Just talk about it.
I went through the exact same thing with him because he was he made me the offer to go down to Gettysburg to a cabin that was out there. And he's like, if you want to do it, let's go. And I think I made the same decision you did. I said, you know what? I don't think I want any more strangeness in my life or anything like that.
Yeah,
I'd have gone with Jeff. I don't want to strike out on this on my own. I'd have gone with a partner.
Yeah.
Now, was this the, what's his name? I've just listened to a few episodes he was on. The haunted house in Gettysburg that they got all the activity at.
Yeah, it was him and Jeremy went there, and there was an old woman there, and she was free. There was a ghost of an old woman there, and she was known for baking cookies, and the house would smell like cookies and stuff.
I think one of the last shows he was on with me, he had taken a 3D imager there, and I think it was this house.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and he got an image of a doorway where there's no doorway. And he's like, that shouldn't be able to happen, and I don't know what to do about that because there's no door there, but the 3D imager is imaging a door there.
Yeah.
Jeff offered the crystal he had that he got the entity. He's like, if you want to put the crystal to your head, I'm like, damn right I will. I'll come down, see you put the crystal to my head. Unfortunately, it never happened because I would have jumped at that. I did jump at that. I just didn't. We never actually met up in real life.
But yeah,
I didn't meet up with him either. We talked on the phone a lot, quite a bit, but I never met him.
That's the thought that I always have when I visit, a place that, a paranormal site is that, I oftentimes say to myself, I'm going to take this so something will happen to me. And I can handle strangeness happening in my life, but you read these stories and you look at sort of the anti-structural nature of these things. And I can handle a ghost in my house or seeing a Bigfoot outside my window or something like that. I know I'll get through that, but I can't imagine the sort of guilt that I would have if I brought a rock home from the TNT area in Point Pleasant, let's say, and I had, financial ruin or somebody that I loved got a terminal illness or something like that's something that's I'm just going to leave this here as much as it might, as much as I might get a kick out of this. The repercussions could be much more serious than just seeing strange things.
And how much of that would be because you believed that would happen too?
Also true, the psychosomatic thing. Yeah,
someone who knew nothing about any of that stuff could have picked up the same rock, brought it home, and nothing would have happened. But you might have a string of bad luck.
Co-creation. I brought one home, but I picked it up on the road near the TNT area, not from the actual TNT.
So is this a thing where people have taken rocks from the TNT area and had bad luck?
No, I'm just saying in general. I think about people taking things from ancient monuments and those stories of people taking things from volcanoes national park.
The suicide forest. When you take a rock or something from the suicide forest in Japan, people very often they have a whole area, a thing just set up where they get stuff mailed back to them all the time, saying, "I don't want this. I took it. My life has been hell since I took it." And I had a buddy who actually had something that was taken from there and given to them, and they were like, no, and they mailed it back. That's how I found out about the whole return service that they have there.
Yeah, it's the whole Bobby Brady.
The
Brady Bunch taking the piece of volcanic rock or whatever, and that's a real thing in Hawaii too. So that's where they got it from.
Oh, I thought that was from the Brady Bunch with the tiki.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, it was a tiki. Yeah, but I think that there's a real thing. You're not supposed to take.
Yeah.
The story is don't take any volcanic rock from Hawaii because Pele will get mad.
I say that looking at my goblin rock here and kind of wondering if that was wise, but.
Oh yeah, you gave me one of them. It's sitting on my desk right now with your writing on it.
Yeah, I gave a bunch of my friends goblin rocks. I found the directions to get as close to the Kelly Hopkinsville Goblin site as I legally could. It's a private residence now, and there are some signs saying that it's under surveillance. So I stopped the minivan on our way back from St. Louis and scooped up a handful of rocks from the road on the property side.
Actually, it's funny you should say that because I actually have a rock here that's sitting on my desk. There it is. That I got when we were all together down at the first Paramania down in Texas when we were at the graveyard.
From Aurora,
Yeah, from Aurora. And very frequently people will post pictures of that rock in that graveyard, and I'll be like, I remember when me and Josh were dumbasses and tried to lift that rock.
Oh yeah, I helped you, and it was all covered with spiders underneath.
Yeah,
you guys
there was
jumped up and left.
Yeah.
You guys jumped up, and I'm holding that rock, and spiders are crawling up my arms, and I'm not sure what to do because I would drop it on my foot.
Yeah. Yeah, you look like a little scared little chihuahua. Your legs and stuff were shaking, but there was also a tree behind us with a bee's nest in it. That's big bee's nest.
That's
and
right,
we
I
were
remember
like,
that,
well,
yeah.
there's nothing under this rock. Let's put it down. And Greg didn't get the message. So you're just sitting there trying to hold on to this giant rock. Yep, I remember that very well.
Yeah.
I have a rock from there too, but it came from supposedly the well where they had thrown the pieces of the spaceman's spacecraft down. So we were there, and I found a little piece of masonry or something that had been pressed into something that looks like a shell or something. Anyway, I have that. It's right here. That's it.
So
we're all banging our rocks from the Ohio site and from the Texas site on our desks. I have a rock too. Yeah, so do I.
I got one at Exeter when we were there a couple of weeks ago from the first sighting of the Exeter UFO.
That's right.
Yeah.
So basically, somebody contacted you and said, "Okay, if you want to meet aliens, do you want to do this?" And you were like, "Nah, that sounds too much like work. I don't think I want to deal with that."
It wasn't like work. It was more like, I like my life right now and I don't want it turned upside down.
yeah,
But
I
also
understand
work.
that.
That also work.
work. Yes.
I don't have the time to put into meeting extraterrestrials.
How did they define aliens? Did they define them as extraterrestrials or just other intelligences?
Other intelligences.
Okay.
Other corporeal intelligences.
See, to me, that still falls into the alien category, which
Yes.
ticks a lot of people off.
Yeah.
Is it human? No. Okay, therefore it's other, therefore it's alien. And when you
Yeah.
and I piss a lot of people off when I say this, sorry, but I make a lot of people mad when I say that, because everybody's got this preconceived notion that these things are alien creatures from another galaxy or from another planet. And in my head, it's like, it's not human, therefore it's other, therefore it is alien.
Yes.
Well, non-human biologics is the term that all the cool kids are using nowadays.
Yes.
Well, that's even a better term, though.
It is a better
It's
term.
more appropriate, because this is where I get people angry and stuff, because everybody will come at you and they'll be like, well, this isn't extraterrestrials from another planet. These aren't nuts and bolts craft. It is this. We think it's this, or I think it's this. And I'm kind of in the category where it's like, well, it's very well could possibly be all of the above, because I'm in one of those people. It's like, the blind guys going up and touching the elephant, each person touching its part. So even if they did come out with, okay, well, we actually, here's proof, we have aliens, these are nuts and bolts crafts. In my mind, it's like, okay, that's great. That is a piece of the puzzle, but that's not the whole puzzle.
Yeah,
and a lot of people get locked into that. Where,
Everyone wants that theory of everything, and the
there
truth
is no everything theory for this.
Yeah, exactly. It's a theory. There are so many different explanations for things that seem like the same phenomena. Go ahead, Josh.
I was going to say, I would love for it to be, extraterrestrial human dead time travelers from other planets that are also riding organic amoeba, jellyfish, sky critters through. I want it to be everything.
Yeah, there's no such thing as that.
Yeah.
So when I tell people, I believe that, I have no problem with the idea that extraterrestrials, nuts and bolts crafts have visited this planet, may still be visiting this planet, but that doesn't explain everything. And I'm comfortable with saying that. But people get really bent out of shape about that. Even if, like I said, if the government had said, yes, aliens are real, you still would have a lot of people saying, no, that's not the case because this, and this happens. And my attitude is, well, yeah, that is happening, but now we have this piece of the puzzle for this. Now we can put that aside and concentrate on what this other stuff is.
And also, let's be clear. Despite what people may think, the United States government, neither them or the military, has come out and said extraterrestrials are visiting our planet.
I don't think they're going to be able to. I think
there's this belief that the government has acknowledged extraterrestrials. Yes, people who work for the government have suggested it. People who claim to have worked for the government have suggested it or flat out said it. But nobody has offered actual proof. Nobody in any official capacity has come out and said, yes, this is true. I mean, that's why they're having this congressional meeting, so the people in Congress don't know either.
Yeah, but what are they going to say? I mean, they're probably saying the same things that we are. They're like, we don't know what this is. We can't say for sure that this is extraterrestrial because, again, they're the government. They're access to a lot more information than we are.
Yeah, a lot more
there's
data.
A very good chance they're just looking at this big pile of information going, what are we supposed to do with this? What do we tell people? How do we tell people this stuff? And how, they're probably in the same boat that we are right now talking about this stuff. So they really can't. What are they going to say is, well, we know that this is extraterrestrial, but we don't know what this is, but under the old mentality of, well, people are going to panic because, X, Y, and Z, whereas like I said earlier, they said, in the grand scheme of things, even though they didn't, and the people's impressions in people's mind, the government admitted UFOs were real, and people didn't care. So now it's even crazier. They're like, well, we told people UFOs were real. Nobody cared. It didn't seem to distract them very much. Now what do we do? You know, it's like Greg said, this is all going to go away and it will be replaced again by something else as the technology, as the news and stuff evolves. But I will say,
congressional hearings about Bigfoot.
Oh man, I wish.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever see that. But you know, I don't. It's like you guys brought up earlier that what Greg was noticing that a lot more things are being shown to be showed as fake or this is definitely bad information. That is one of the beauties of the information age, where everybody can get out there and track this stuff down. Whereas back in the old school days, information and ways to find stuff were not readily as available. The technology wasn't as good or whatever. True. Now, people can get out there and track this stuff down. Like what happened down in Mexico when they showed that body or whatever that paper mache cake thing was or whatever. People are like, yeah, let's see some more about this. But right off the bat, people were like, that's not right. This isn't real. There's something fishy about this. And I'm kind of blown away that the Mexican government was like, hey, here you go. Here's an alien body. I'm really curious what Red Pill would have to say about all this, because he's down there in the thick of that for the most part. But that was right off the bat. People are beginning. It seems like they're big, because, as Josh said earlier, possibly that nobody has any faith in any of our institutions or anything. So now everything is questioned. Everything is looked at with suspicion, and everything is very hardcore investigated. More so than I think you're going to find on the news or what have you anymore.
I will say that although obviously a nuts and bolts extraterrestrial explanation cannot be ruled out, I don't think when you really look at the evidence, that's the most likely answer. No,
I don't either, but I do think it's part of the puzzle.
Yes. Maybe. I'm not sure it is. I just won't rule it out because I can't, I don't feel like we can roll anything out until we know what it is, and it's probably many things.
His tongue right now.
Well, no. I mean, this puts me in the mindset of something that was mentioned on. I watched the Corbell Knapp interview on Joe Rogan, just to stay up to date with what they're saying about all this stuff, and there was an allusion at one point to what could be such a big secret that they need to keep under wraps, and I do agree with that to a degree. Like, what I don't think that aliens are that big of an ontological shock compared to what might truly lie behind the phenomena, which is a complete reworking of our understanding of reality.
Yeah. And
that seems to me like something that you would have to keep under wraps, because, if the truth comes out that, hey, guess what? You really are a reincarnated soul on this planet. Then all of the power which authority structures wield sort of just evaporates overnight, because no matter what happens, like, what's the worst that they can do to you? They're going to kill you and you're going to come back, So I think that it's like I've been fond of saying, and people are probably getting a little bit tired of me saying it, but which upends your worldview more? That reality looks like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, or that reality looks like the Iliad? Like, I know which one affects my day-to-day life more,
But again, is anybody even going to care anymore? If it's too much of a concept for people to wrap their heads around, they're just going to be like, yeah, whatever. They're going to go back to, I need to put food on my table.
Yeah.
The
struggle to survive for most people outweighs their interest in this stuff.
At this point, I think so.
And I'm sure it's part of what they're trying to distract people from as they continue to, the elites continue to raise prices and gouge everything and make life harder on the rest of us. But hey, look at this UFO stuff over here. Aliens.
And everybody's like, who cares? That's great. That's nice. And then you've got us going, well, nothing was really said of any real substance here that we don't already know. So maybe we're just,
So there's a Apple TV series called Invasion. And despite the generic name, it is actually a really well done series about an alien invasion. It brings consciousness into the question. It's subtle, and at the same time,
listening to all our shows and reading Josh's books.
But the thing is, I'm like watching it going, man, if this happened for real, because it's so subtle, like people don't know exactly what's going on at first. They think there's terrorist attacks and all this other stuff. I'm like, our government could literally pull this off at this point without an actual alien invasion. And like, I feel like if I were in that universe, I'd be going, is this real? Like, are these real aliens, or are they pulling something, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's kind of been the overlying prediction for that goes back to Project Bluebeam.
Yeah.
You know, that's not a new concept or theory at all.
No, but this show definitely, like, you could see it if you watch the show. And I do recommend the show. It's actually really good. And like I said, it has a couple very interesting twists I've never seen in an alien invasion movie before. Well, series or movie. Most alien invasion movies are pretty much aliens come attack us. We end up defeating them. This, like I said, is subtle and is not clear as to exactly what's going on, even 2 seasons in.
Speaking of alien invasion media, did anyone happen to catch No One Will Save You yet?
I have not.
Will Save You. Is that a movie?
It's on Hulu, yeah.
Oh, I will mark that down.
Yeah, it looks pretty intense, but I haven't seen it yet.
What is it?
It's not at all what I thought it would be. It's a told from the perspective of this girl, and she's a younger lady, and it's the film has, I didn't realize this until I got into it, the film has 1 line of dialogue.
Oh.
So it's almost like quasi-experimental in that way, but I thought it was interesting. It got kind of ecology of souls there in certain parts, and
right.
I'm itching to talk to someone about it.
Okay. All right. I will make a point of watching it.
It's worth seeing.
Okay.
It's worth seeing.
Right.
There's some little tidbits that you don't normally see in UFO media that I found really interesting. Like, this isn't really a spoiler, but if anybody really cares, there are certain appearances of the beings in it that are accompanied by the ringing of the bell, which is something that you don't hear in the literature. You don't ever see depicted. You kind of don't really run across it in the literature a lot, but it's something that Ray Fowler talks about sometimes, is that there's this chime or this bell ringing that happens before they appear. So it's kind of interesting in that regard. There was some homework was done for sure.
All right, we're out of time. Josh, where can people find you?
JoshuaCutchin.com, JoshuaCutchin.com. And I just recently released my first novel, Them Old Ways Never Died. So pick up a copy from Amazon or write me and I can sign one and send it to you.
Rojan, where can people find you?
My podcast is still up and running. I still put out episodes every once in a while. You can find it at projectarchivist.com. I'm also the sometimes co-host of another show called Old Nerds Drinking, which is at oldnerdsdrinking.com. That's pretty much like a nerdy show talking about Star Wars and just deep conversations and, nerdy topics. And then I also now run a Facebook group called Cinema Labad, which is dedicated to B-rate, science fiction, grindhouse movies, stuff like that. You can find us over there, and we're getting ready to fire up a Discord channel for stuff, to be able to view all these really old quirky movies at some point down the road. So you can find that over there too. And it's cinema space, LE space bad.
All right. And Greg?
Still RadioMysterioso.com. The last interview I did was Diana Pasulka. There are many more coming up that I have in the can, and a few people that I'm actively pursuing right now. One of the shows coming up is a big dump of David Perkins stuff in honor of him and his passing last month.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
A pleasure.
Thank you all.
I want to give a shout out here to all of my patrons. It is because of you that this show is possible. And I want to give a shout out to those pledging $10 or more. Greg Ross, Billuminati, Leanne Cherry, Matt in Delaware, Allison Cook, Super Inframan, 36 Dingo, Tim, Andrew Nichols, Matthew Sproul, Christine, a blue second-gen MR2 drifting around a Japanese mountain, Patricia Gaia-Quinta, Alex Whitcomb, American Rambler, Andrew Maines, Ann Witowski, Barbara Fisher, Beverly Williamson, Big Boy Limina, Bright Rectangle, Charles Davis, Charles in Florida, Legend of the Crazy Incommunicable, CJ, Craig Parmenter, Diane B., MTK, Eric Citron, Eric Todd, History and Coffee, J. Otto Bullitt, Jack Huntington, James Lindsay, Jim and Sophie, John Mattingly, John Bracken, Carla Mahoney, Kevin Schreck, Cool Kitty, Kristen L., Laser Printer Jam, Lauren McLean, Linda, Linz Jackson K., MJ Armstrong, Mark Brady, Mr. Weird, Oli Andre Olar, Paul Jeffries, Philosopher of Mirrors, Riker and Stark, Ron Dupre, Sam Sharon, Schmooples, Devourer of Mortal Souls, Stacy Sherwood, Strange Stories with the Seeker and Skeptic podcast, Tactical Therapist, Taylor Bell, Thunderboy, Tyler Glimstead, Varosh K., Vincent Treewell, Will Gebhard, Will Powell, Ren Collier, Annabelle Smith, Caroline Walker, TDT Skunkworks, A Crocodile, and Craig Sagastumi. Thank you all so very, very much. All right, there's a short Patreon extra for this one with myself, Joshua, and Greg, talking about some other stuff and continuing this conversation. If you want to become a patron, it's only $3 a month, and I don't plan on changing that. It's been $3 a month since we started this Patreon thing back in, 2015 or so, and you get extra content almost every week, plus extras, plus extra stuff I throw in there as well for being supporters of the show. I appreciate the hell out of it. And of course, if you want to share it, give us some 5-star ratings, things like that. That's also very much appreciated. I want to welcome a few new patrons this month, or this week, I should say. Ariadne, if I'm saying that right, I hope I am. Deb, Maynard W., Samantha Colahan, Matthew Bolton, and Ancient Hangover. I like that one. That's good. As I said, I'll be at Alba Twitch on the 14th down in Columbia. Come find me if you're there. That's Columbia, Pennsylvania. For anyone who doesn't know, just look up albatwitchday.com for more information. And I will see you next time. You have been listening to Where Did the Road Go? This show is made possible in part from our Patreons, and we thank you and everyone listening for helping us continue this exploration of the strange. You can always find everything Where Did the Road Go related at www.wheredidtheroadgo.com. And thank you so much for your support.